Now, I know that you've all been thinking about appropriate questions, and so I'll open the floor to questions. And while you're thinking about that, no, we don't need to think about that. Sarah's got a question.
I probably don't need the microphone.
Yes, you do.
I come from a company which has a multi-brand strategy, and that works some of the way we had, and we've done lots of research into that. But so how do you make the multi-brand strategy work for your 3 brands? Is it price, or is it like how do you get one part of the market to like one brand versus another?
Can you hear me? Yep. It's really difficult, but I guess that's that thing, knowing your competition and knowing your market. I have my head around my market, and I feel like I can see a gap in the market. I guess that's basically my job, is to find the gap in the market and be like a trend reporter. So for me, I know how to keep those 3 brands quite different to appeal to that same demographic. So I have to spend a lot. I pretty much know everything about that designer, what she ate for breakfast and what she's doing tonight and what she's doing on the weekend. We work really closely together. She knows everything about me too. We have that real connection. So we work together on planning right through the range, making sure there's a formula to the range. My job's become more about processes and implementing a lot of systems, which it used to be just about drawing nice dresses. It's changed. So you think, if we're designing a range, we'll have a topic for each area of the range, how many dresses we're allowed to have and what in that category we're allowed to have in that category. And so I'll sit down with them all and I'll know exactly what is in everybody's collection every month. So I see crossover, I'll bring it up at a meeting and I'll say, okay, you're all doing pants with a stripe down the side. You're going to get compared with each other, how we're going to change that. And they'll all argue about who saw it first and everything, and then we'll eventually come down to an agreement that it's more this business, not that. Our price points are the same. Our branding is all of a high level. Our content is almost the same, so it's down to the designers having a real understanding of the brand and how they are different in the marketplace. It's a lot of pressure, and because it's monthly, they really have to be given a lot of information. But they're absolutely brilliant, and they're doing a good job of it, so it's working so far. But we really are worried about that and take it quite seriously.
And I think we've just touched upon another important business concept, and that is brand loyalty. Points of difference are both real and perceived, and you can in fact retain customers because of brand loyalty as long as you're true to your brand, and I think that's a really important question. But you can also lose people by other people meeting their needs more clearly. So once you've established your brand through precision and knowing your brand, I think that brand loyalty is really important to keep. And you wanted to say something?
Heather, I think it's very much about a culture in your business and keeping that culture really true and pure. And I think once you've got that, then you've got that loyalty, and it just flows through that everybody wants to be a winner and they want to be on that winning team, and they'll all work to get that good product.
Sometimes brand loyalties, though, can be quite difficult, because if you have a house of brands, and it's happened in financial institutions in Australia through mergers and acquisitions, for example, where brands have been maintained, and in fact they're maintained usually for internal purposes to keep the staff feeling wanted and a part of an organisation they're familiar with, but it can work against you in the broader market as you expand, because A, it's expensive, and B, it prevents you from having a sort of consistency of culture through your multi-brand strategies. So I think there's 2 ways of thinking at multi-branding for the same businesses in different places, or multi-branding through product lines or customer lines. So, more questions from the floor, because this is a really crucial part of establishing a good business. And I think we've had a fantastic discussion about using your competition to refine your own strategy, to in fact make your attitude precise, and some of the techniques you can use that. But in the end, I think the two other points we've picked up are lots of research, which a number of you have mentioned, and lots of seriously hard work. Succeeding in business, we know that in Australia 90% of the business is small business, and in South Australia it's probably even higher than that. But also an extremely large proportion of those businesses fail, and sometimes they fail because people haven't quite come to grips with the task. But research, hard work and precision are really good guides to help your business operate.
On that too, knowing your competition also allows you an opportunity to raise your own game plan, and I think that's really important. Is that if you see what other people are doing, and you want an opportunity to create a larger market share, it just, aside from just the strategic side of things, but it can be as simple as customer service and the level and degree of which you're delivering your product. And sometimes going through the exercise of even analyzing your competition and what they're doing, it makes you think a little bit closer to your own business. And again, the things that you need to do, it helps you to identify the gaps maybe, and then again to the opportunity to increase your own market share. So I think that benefit of actually then forcing you to elevate. They do say competition is good, and it's good for a number of reasons. And I just wanted to, can I just share a little something I heard on the news yesterday that just made me think of this? And I know it's a room full of ladies, and I'm going to talk football talk for a second. But I heard on the radio for the footy, Adelaide Crows are playing against, I think, Geelong tomorrow. And the coach from Geelong was talking about I think current coach or one of the assistant coaches for Adelaide Crows used to be a coach or part of the staff of Geelong, and he was talking about how he's got this inside information and how he felt actually that the Crows had this competitive advantage because they had this inside information and they had this knowledge and this intel that they felt that the Adelaide Crows may then use as part of their strategy to work against Geelong. But I just thought it was interesting through football and so through sports and I guess through businesses and everything. It's like we always want to know kind of what the other person is doing. And again, it's using that knowledge to drive us to whatever direction to help us to succeed. So there's my footy talk.
Are there more questions? Suzanne?
Yes, I'd really like to ask Anne whether she...
Can you use the microphone,
Oh,
Suzanne?
sorry, I
Thank
beg
you.
your pardon. It's a question for Anne, really. It's just whether the council identifies that it has a competitor, and if so, who would you identify that competitor to be? And, second bit, if there isn't, how do you lift your game if you feel you don't have a competitor?
Well, we're very much a service industry that services our ratepayers, and I dare say our competitor would be our ratepayers because we've got to satisfy them. We've got to rise to the occasion when they have issues with council. It's about finding a solution if there is undue call, or providing a pathway so there is a solution if there are any issues. But I would hope our ratepayers would feel comfortable contacting council or myself or the staff that they would get a response to whatever their issue was. So our ratepayers are the ones that pay the bills ultimately, so it's about trying to keep them happy. And you know, you've got to be realistic. You can't keep everybody happy all the time, because what you do for one person, they consider that ulterior for another person. So it's about that happy medium and just doing what you can do with the dollar that you've got available. And that's very much what drives us, because we have a budget that we have to work within, and it's about delivering services within that budget.
And I think the true competitors of the councillors are the councillors who aren't yet elected, who will be if the current councillors are not happy. Perhaps we could also pick up on something that Sally said about how you understand how your customers are operating. She gave us the great example of looking for a wedding planner, and if the site didn't provide what she wanted, you simply didn't go there. So you see by your customers' behaviour whether they're actually responding to what you're offering or they're going to your competitors. Maybe, Sally, you could talk a bit about the analytical tools that are available to track website traffic and to see how people are behaving, which can be a great guide to the way that we use these tools to understand, because when people complain to you, you know what's going on. When they're silent, it's much harder to find out what's going on. And I think there are a lot of really good tools around that you were alluding to.
Well, firstly, actually, in the research and the planning stage of actually making a website for a client, the first thing I actually ask them is, who are your competitors? What are their competitors? And we actually research their competitors' online presence as well and see, okay, that's a good thing they're doing, let's enhance on that and make that better. This is where they're lacking, let's make this better. So straight away, before we even go into the further planning stages, we research the competitors. So that's one thing to make sure we always do, is research what they're doing and do it better. So that's one thing that we always establish. And like you said, with the analytics and that, with online, you can monitor anything now. So you can monitor where your traffic's coming in, how it's not working, any campaign that you create, you know, is coming directly from there, and what they're doing exactly on your site. You know, where links are coming in, if you've got your website linked somewhere or you've written a blog here, you know, all your traffic. So the great thing about online, you can just monitor anything. So it's important to not only monitor yourself and how traffic's coming in, but just monitor your competitors as well, and make sure that your website's always one step higher than theirs, providing one step more information and being as helpful as it can be.
And also reviewing that. It's really not important enough to say, I've looked at the competition. We did that when we established the website 3 years ago. Life changes, life moves on. You have to keep in touch. And did you take that because you're going to say something else? Okay. A question from Barry. Oh, I don't know whether we'll allow you to answer a question. Oh, all right.
I think there's two very important topics here, and I just wanted to get the impression perhaps from the team about how do you get that balance right about being proactive about knowing your customer, then being a little bit reactive about knowing your competitor, you know, and how do you stay that one step ahead? How do you get that percentage right?
I think if you're proactive, you're right. If you can read what's into the future, you can't go wrong. So being proactive is much more beneficial than being reactive, because reactive, you've missed the boat.